Hi, Goddess family. I'm really excited to be sitting here with my dear friend Leslie, who has had quite a transformational journey through Goddess. And so we're just going to chat about it a little bit today, but really more about we have a saying in Goddess Yoga. Leslie's heard this so many times, but there's a version of yourself before Goddess, and there's a version of yourself after. And we're just kind of talking a little bit about what that journey looks like today for Leslie. So yeah, really excited. We met in Sedona at Sedona Hot Yoga, and Leslie has just been part of really experiencing Goddess and the magic and, the miracles that it brought into her life. So we're just going to share a little bit about her story. So Leslie, if you could just tell us just a little bit about maybe your story. I love everyone's stories about how they found Goddess. So maybe tell us a little bit about the story of how you found it, and then maybe just, after one class, how you realized it was different or what you were maybe going through at that time.
Sure, absolutely. Mine was a little bit different of the way that I found Goddess, because it was an absolute accident. But are there really accidents? I'm not really sure. But I had actually I had a business in Sedona and down in Scottsdale. And so my excuse was I need to go work in Sedona, but really it was to hike and do hot yoga and frankly, my favorite therapist is up there. So I had just got done with a therapy appointment where she shared, I'm not sure if I can see you anymore because we've had this same conversation for 3 months and there's a stuck decision and choice that you have to make in your life. And I hope you can figure out how to make that choice. And I support whatever choice that you choose for your relationship, for your life and everything that's going on. And without going into super details, but so I was like, well, that was stressful. So I'm going to go to a hot yoga class and I'm going to get this all out of my system. Yeah. So I looked things up and I'm like, oh, look, hot yoga, let's go into this class. And I did not realize that it was a different kind of yoga class. And so when you introduced yourself and said, this is going to be a little bit different, we're going to sit around a circle and we're going to talk about things going on in your life. I was like, how do I crawl out of this room as fast as humanly possible, to be super honest? and so thank goodness that my yoga mat was on the opposite side of the door, because I'm like, well, I can't crawl out of here because that would be super duper embarrassing. So might as well stay and I'm supposed to be here for a reason and let's do this. And it was pretty cool being at the end of the share circle, to be honest with you, because I got to hear a lot of people who have already been to the classes and been to the courses and seeing how their lives had been different over the course of taking classes. So I was like, okay, well, maybe there's something here. So I'm just gonna make a funny joke and I'm gonna stick to myself and see what happens. And it was so interesting that in the middle of the class, and I'm not sure what move we were doing or what it was specifically, but when you shared that when you have these hip movements, there's something that happens in a woman's body that shifts perspectives and can shift an emotion that's like it feels stuck. Mm-hmm. And I was so very clear about the choice that I needed to make at the end of the yoga class that changed the trajectory of the way the last 3 years have gone. And so I kept on making the excuse of I need to go work in Sedona every Thursday morning so I could, go work and go to Goddess, go work on myself, I guess you could say. And as things just became more and more clear. And the shift in my life, I have a business, the business, like I said, became a single mom. And it's like, wow, how do my business can't operate the way that it is now and have a kiddo that I'm in charge of 50% of the time, right? Like I was way overworking and frankly not paying attention to my relationship either, which is part of the cause of the whole matter and taking responsibility for that too. But it was like, okay, so is it sell the business? Is it recreate the business? Is it hire and pay a lot of money to other people and maybe grow? I wasn't sure. So continuing to go to the classes and frankly, like praying before, like, God, what do you have in store for me? What is it that you want to teach me? And how can I learn from what you're ready to share with me? Ended up deciding to keep the business and to delegate and to hire expensive people who were able to do the job actually way better than me, turns out, in certain areas, which is kind of cool to see, and empower other people in my life. And ended up with 33 employees and 50 housekeepers. It was an Airbnb business. And a year and a half got to sell the business. So, which all of those various choices that had the stuck conversations needed to be unstuck in order for all of the other things to happen in order to get to that space of life. And so, and any time even since then, I've had like a breakup with a boyfriend or something yucky going on with a girlfriend. It's like, doesn't make sense. You know, things it just doesn't make sense. Anytime that I've gone to the goddess yoga classes and been a part of that community, it's like, oh yeah, should have done that 2 weeks ago. Duh. And so, yeah, so goddess looks different and is for a different purpose now than it was 3 years ago. But I think that's kind of the beauty, that it can kind of grow as you grow. When life is moving so fast and tiny things are going wrong, different, and those tiny things can just add up and add up and add up to where at one point in time, and specifically kind of in the space and time before I wanted to walk, crawl out of goddess yoga, I got to a space of like, I lost myself. Like my identity was so wrapped up in the business, and my identity was wrapped up so much and well, this is going on in my life, in my personal life, but I don't have time for that. So like I lost myself, to be honest with you. And so I think one of the biggest gifts that I can now say, looking back over the past 3 years, and specifically in that time, was it was an opening between the hip movements, the share circle, the just knowing that the people there, you're not the only one. Knowing that you're not the only one that's going through something or has gone through something, life can be different. It was like I've lost myself in who I am and what's truly important. And being able to be intentional about like, okay, what did it look like, right? What did it look like when I wasn't married, I didn't have a kid, fancy free, whatever. Like, how do I bring fun into my life again? How do I bring fun into my life again? And how will bringing fun into my life transform other areas of my life? And so, that's what I'd say is an interesting reflection that I can say now that I think I'm actually just kind of getting as we're talking. So thank you for this.
I want to like just reflect back, Leslie, is that, and this is just like from my perspective, leading the classes. So what's really special for me about leading the classes is I can show up vulnerably, right? And I can share what's going on in my life, and that kind of sets the tone. And it's so interesting to see, like, I literally came to like goddess in the middle of my divorce and like sometimes had tears coming down my face. And other women, it gave them permission to be like, oh my God, there's something going on in my life I really need to face. I haven't faced it yet. And it's a safe space where we can be like, wow. And then when we see each other thrive and we see each other lift, you know, when I saw you come in and you were like, no, I like sold my business. Like I'm good. And I'm with my son. I was like celebrating you. So we get to watch each other, you know, we get to pull each other up and be like, wow, I'm watching her just like own her, the things you were going through. And really like, no, you like, you brought back the fun into your life. You brought back the time you wanted. You are now basically like, you know, living the life that you were like, wow, what am I doing? I had a realization in Goddess for me. It was like, you know, it's kind of like therapy, but it's really fun and sexy. So you're like looking in the mirror and I had a realization that Goddess actually helps me stop abandoning myself. And I think a lot of times we find in certain areas of our life, we're sacrificing ourselves in some way, or we're playing it small in some way, or we're not staying true to ourselves. So it kind of sounds like that was what you were seeing as well. So Leslie, I just wanted to also reflect, like, as an instructor in Sedona, and I knew you were coming up from Scottsdale, you know, week after week. And at first it was you, but then like pretty soon you were always bringing a friend. I mean, it was like a different girl every time, if not 3 or 4 or 5 girls sometimes. So I knew that it was impacting you, and I was really grateful that you were making that drive and also just bringing women.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
What made it fun, and was a good space to have, 2 hours in a car with girlfriends that you get to open up to and make a fun day out of it. And it's cool to see other friends get different things in their life too, that like they go in as like, okay, I just trust you. And so I think for a lot of my friends, what I've seen is the ones who did like one class, right? Is like a sexual confidence, and like a sexual confidence in like themselves of like, inner beauty is outer beauty, and yes, I can do all of these sexy kind of a moves, and some of them are like, yeah, my husband's like, go up to goddess yoga anytime you want.
Love that. I hear that sometimes.
Fun feedback for y'all.
Yeah, sweet. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's get into the erotic blueprints, because I am bringing that into I'm doing a retreat in Mexico that we're going to be doing erotic blueprint.
Nice.
Feeding, and then also like one-on-one. But Leslie invited me to go teach goddess yoga and erotic blueprints, which I'm certified in, to a group of her like really close friends. 13 of them. And it was so transformational for you that like you wanted to become a coach. And it was like something that you share with people all the time. So if you want to talk about that, that'd be awesome too.
For sure. The group of girls I've known for probably 15 years. And so but specifically I thought the most interesting part of doing the erotic blueprint, and learning that there's like, just like there's 5 love languages, there's 5 love languages of sex. And I'm like, like, oh, well, she probably is this, and she probably is this, and I bet she's this. And some just like blew me away. I'm like, what? You like your hair pulled? Why? Wait, more than one of you guys? What? And anyway, so that was just like some funny conversations that happened when we were going through it as a women's group, right?
Yeah.
But the most impactful thing for me, again, this is kind of in the same space of like transitioning out of one relationship and like, who am I as a now single mom and who owns a business and whatever, and who am I to the world, But when you shared that one of my top 2 as a sensual, and the positives like wine me, dine me, dance with me, and then I'll be turned on. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That resonates. But when you said the things to look out for, and you said if there's a conversation that needs to be had that's not being had, it can be challenging to get turned on. And at that point in my life, I had kind of convinced myself that I was going through menopause early, and that I just wouldn't be able to be turned on anymore. And was like, maybe it's because I work too much. Maybe it's because I had a baby. I don't know. I did in vitro. Maybe it's my hormones. But like, I made the choice for myself before going in, like, this will be fun for everyone else, but not for me. And finding out the specific piece of, if there's a conversation that needs to be had that's not being had, you can't get turned on. I'm like, oh my gosh, there was a giant elephant in the room in my relationship for a while. And being able to like release that, like making a decision that at 38 years old that you went through menopause already, or you're going through menopause, like it's pretty serious, and not talking about it, and just like, okay, well, I guess this isn't right. And I'm like kind of turned on right now. Like, where are my opportunities here? Like, this is kind of exciting, right? And anyway, so it was like a forgiveness of myself too, right? It's like being able to forgive myself of like, oh my gosh, you made up all of this shit, lady. All this stuff, lady. Sorry. That's not serving you, I guess. So, and fast forward today, I have an incredibly sexy man in my life, and we have an amazing connection. And but we also, I'm able to say, and I was able to say early on, hey, if there's a conversation that needs to be had that's not being had, we have to have it, or else I can't get turned on. So to just be able to say that, and early on in a relationship is like, to be able to recognize it, has made it so that our relationship has been easier because we both know, and he's a sensual also. So we both know that, hey, if something's going on, we just got to talk about it. And we can't be in a relationship where we just bottle things up and hold things in and pretend like nothing doesn't exist,
Yeah.
you know? So yeah, anyway, pretty cool.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's actually really insightful for me, and it helps me realize how impactful the Erotic Blueprint work is. And now I know why when you go to parties, you always want to talk about the blueprints. And I think Leslie went on this killer cruise. Was it last summer?
Yep.
And on the cruise, she was like telling the blueprints to everyone, finding out who is who. And it's like such a fun thing to do. And also like when it does really change your life, it changed my life too. And that's why I love sharing it. It makes you feel like you're not broken.
Totally. Yep. And knowing that like there's not one that's different than another, right? There's
Nothing's
not one,
better
nothing's
than the
better
other.
than the other,
Yeah.
you know? It's created
It's how you're wired.
Totally.
Yeah.
It created so many forgiveness conversations, even in that women's circle of like,
Yes.
yeah, remember that time you asked me to have sex with your boyfriend? I was pissed. You know what I mean? And that friend was like, I thought everyone wanted that. I'm like, no, not at all. So anyway, there's been, again, when you think and feel in this kind of way, and there's no platform for communication around sex, and this can create a platform of communication around sex that makes none of it right or wrong or whatever. It's just like, oh, you're just
you're like that.
You're just a kinky, all good. Oh, you're just all good. I'm not into it, but I appreciate where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I don't want to be joked, but that's cool if you do.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Right? Sweet. Oh my gosh, I love it. No, Leslie, I love that you really lit up with the blueprints. Leslie, thank you so much for coming by and just honestly sharing with your heart open. And, you know, really our mission, you even being here, is to help empower other women. And that's why you always bring a million of your friends to Goddess Yoga events and workshops, and hopefully you'll be a part of it in a bigger way even moving forward. So happy to be down here in Scottsdale and being back in the Valley.
Us
but
too.
like, thank you. Like, thank you for always being such a big, like from my heart, like such a big supporter.
And thank you for being the inspiration to all the women out here who know about this gift, and all of the women out here who get to experience newly this gift that you brought down to the Valley into the world.
Oh, I can't wait to just see what happens here in Scottsdale. It's taken me, just a minute to get settled, but. So I just want to share that like this is why I am on a personal mission to share Goddess with as many women as possible. Because really, honestly, if you really feel the essence of this is about liberation. This is about liberating ourselves from the chains and the bondages or the patterns or the ideas or the boxes we fit ourselves into, where one day we just wake up and we're like, who am I? I've lost who I was. I don't even know who I am anymore. And you know, all the burdens and all the responsibilities and the roles you play to everyone else, really Goddess helps break all of that away. And all of a sudden you can see yourself in the mirror and you're like, wow, that's me. And maybe it takes one class, maybe sometimes it's a journey, but I know for sure after one class for me, it changed my trajectory. And I just heard from you that even after one time. So this is it. So I invite you to just join whatever program calls to you, whether it be an in-person class, a training, an event. We have our 10 classes you can purchase online and just do Goddess in your own home. So whatever way you want to step in, I'm just inviting you.